Welcome to another episode of Life and Whiskey. As always, I'm Jordan. Today, I'm going to do a nice little Wyoming whiskey lineup here. We have the Wyoming whiskey small batch, the Wyoming whiskey, what do they call it? Double cask. So this is a finished one. These are in order of proof, by the way. This is Wyoming whiskey, the 10-year anniversary edition. So this is 88 proof, 100 proof. This is 51.7, 103.4 proof. And then I have three private stocks, so individual like store pick kind of things or group picks if you want. So you're probably not going to be able to get your hands on these particular bottlings. But as far as like store picks go, these like any store pick I've had of Wyoming whiskey has been absolutely phenomenal. So this one is for TNC Liquor. It's 53.91 proof, so 100 or ABV, so 107.82 proof. This one is for the Liquor Shed in Casper, Wyoming. This is 113 proof. And then this one with the John Wayne riding a buffalo on the back is for the Liquor Shed in Wyoming, the Garden GDBC. It's the Garden something Bourbon Club. What was it? Does it say it on the back here? Garden, or GV, that's a V, not a D. Huh? Well, okay, there you go. Garden Valley Bourbon Club is who picked this barrel. And this is at 118.6 proof. So, pretty up there. There's a lot of heat getting thrown around in here, so this will be quite interesting. I'm going to go ahead, pour these. In fact, I just bought this bottle of small batch specifically so that I could do this. So I haven't even opened this yet. So we'll get into that here. So there's small batch right here. It's age stated 5 years. Which, if you've ever heard any of the stories about Wyoming whiskey, or I think you watched some of my videos where I mention it, their first release was not very good because they released it too early. It didn't have that 5-year time to age. I think they released it after somewhere between 2 and 4 years. I don't really remember off the top of my head. But anyway, you go about it. They released it too early, and it was not good. And I thought, man, they're really gonna ruin their reputation on that one. Luckily, with some good marketing and the right people and a fair bit of money, they were able to make a very nice product, come back from it, and now they're a really, really big distillery. In fact, I believe they are the biggest distillery west of the Mississippi. But I have these in order of proof, and that's how we're going to remember it. Glasses. So lowest proof is A, highest proof is F, I believe. So just like all the other distilleries, we're going to go A to F and then F back to A. We'll probably take a little, well, sorry, that's not true. It's A to F right now as it sits, but I'm going to mix up these glasses so that I don't know what's what. So I guess instead of A to F and F to A, we're going to go from my left to the right, and then from my right to the left back down the line. And that's how we're going to do it. And then keeping the glasses in order here so that, or the bottles in order so that we know what's what. And yeah, this should be pretty good, I think. And let's crack into this new small batch here. Which actually the color on this particular new small batch is fairly almost got a slight red hue to it. So there we go. We got everything poured. So now we are going to start mixing stuff up. I don't know what. Whoa. Oh boy, we'll keep that one in. That was awfully close. I did spill a little bit on my hand, and sure that's gonna get on to whatever we got going on there. I have no idea what's what. Suppose I need to be a little bit more careful about what I am doing here. And once again, as I go through these, I didn't try and memorize any of this stuff. I'm not going to try and play favorites or anything like that. I don't really care which one comes out on top, which one comes out being the best, in my opinion. I know for a fact that I like all of these products. I know for a fact that no matter which one you go with, you're getting something nice. And because of that, I am happy with whatever's going to win on this one. And just like with the Wild Turkey was an excellent episode. It was a great surprise to see that Wild Turkey 101 came out as my top pick. $25 bottle or less, and beat everything. Beat everything else. So, you know what? Sometimes that's really good. So bottle prices here range from the standard small batch. Oh crud, what did I pick that? Let's open that up quick, so I'll kill a little bit of time here while we're waiting that to open. But the small batch should be available in most states throughout the United States. I know they got pretty good distribution as far as the double cask. The private stocks, if you can find the small batch, chances are you're going to be able to find the store picks. And then the 10th anniversary bottles are fairly limited. They may only be in Wyoming. I'm not sure about that, but there's not a whole lot of them. So it's a 10-year-old. And does it say? I'm just looking to see if it says how many bottles there are, but there's not. It doesn't say on here how many bottles there are. But I know it wasn't a whole lot. So, yeah, there you have it. That one's going to be a little bit hard to get, but I've seen this ranging from $210 down to about, I think I've heard as low as $150, and I know we paid $175 for it. So let me just quickly run through what we paid on all those. And most of these are new enough picks that the prices haven't really changed all that much. So we have, here we go, small batch, $37.39 for the small batch. The T&C store pick was $56.99. The Liquor Shed store pick was $49.99. The Garden Valley pick, which was the Garden Valley Bourbon Club, which was also a Liquor Shed pick. So there's the Liquor Shed store pick, and then the Garden Valley Bourbon Club pick that was sold at the Liquor Shed, both out of Casper. Same price, $49.99. The Double Oak was $59.29, and the 10th anniversary was $174.99, so $175. So prices vary quite widely. Liquor Shed in Wyoming seems to have the best prices on most whiskeys that I buy, at least in the state of Wyoming. And yeah, that's what we got. And like I said, here in town, this 10th anniversary stuff I've seen, I think the highest price I've seen is $220 or $225, something like that. Ridiculous. It's a good whiskey, but it's not anywhere near that price. The only thing that's nice about it, and if you watch my review video on it, it's 10th anniversary. There's only a limited release, and then it's not going to be released anymore. It's be here and gone. We live in Wyoming. I do whiskey reviews. We got to have at least a bottle of that. All right, so starting right here, here we go. Ooh, a very nice fruit, red fruit nose, red apple, a little bit of vanilla, very nice. Heavy brown sugar in there, nice sweet, a little bit of oak, a little bit of tannin on the back end, a little bit of pepper. It was sweet, very short palate, but it was a dense palate, very sweet, brown sugar, caramel, a light, like a very light sweet apple in the middle for just a beat, then oak and a little bit of tannin, a little pepper spice. Very nice. I like that one a lot. Next, this one's leaning heavier into fruit and floral notes in the nose, along with a caramel, like a caramel colored apple. Palate's a little bit light. It was brown sugar, honey, light apple, a little bit of floralness in the flavor on the palate. Then it goes into a nice oak tannin on the back end. This one's tough because this one, number one, the palate was a lot denser. This one, the flavors weren't as dense, a lot lighter in flavor, but it had more of a palate. So that's interesting. But I'm going to put the denser flavor number one so far. That was a absolute caramel bomb right there. Then it moved into a cherry blossom mixed with like the inside flesh of an apricot. Very nice. Okay, palate shifted. It was sweet forward, nice, light, a little bit thin in flavor, so a little bit lower proof than these other ones. Then it went heavy into a dried apple, and then a very dry, bitter, tannic wood with honey graham cracker finish. For me, that's just not my jam as far as flavor profile. So I'm going to put that at number 3 so far. Okay, this one in the glass is not really jumping out very much. Getting a little bit of a like a peanut dust, almost a circus peanut smell. Kind of that sweet, caramely, sugary confectioner sugar. And then it leans into a cherry and a wood. If I had to guess, I feel like this one might be the double oak. Really, oh man, this one's really good. Really nice, sweet, light, drizzly caramel honey up front. Nothing spiky, nothing pungent or bitter in there. It was a nice, sweet caramel, honey, and then it moved into a very ripe red apple, and then just a small oak, non-bitter, non-tannic finish. So far, I think I'm going to leave the first one and this one tied for now. We'll have to come back through and see what we get out of it. I really like that one a lot. In the glass here, man, just sloshing this junk all over. Man, not really getting much out of the nose on this at all. This one's struggling to jump out of the glass here. There were a few really muted notes, but nothing much in there. There we go. Very dense cherry, like dark black Bing cherry. Lots of dark notes. Molasses, molasses, dried fig, and cherry. Palate wise, a little thin up front, and then it moved into a graham cracker as its second note. That graham cracker expanded into a nice sweet honey graham cracker into a caramel. And then it just immediately hits you with a really sharp tannic bitterness and black pepper spice and ethanol ding. I'm actually going to put that one tied maybe with this last one here. Like as an overall bourbon flavor profile, I'm not a huge fan of that heavy oak impact, whether it's oak, like the oak itself. So I've always described the Pappy lineup as being like chewing on an oak stave, where it's just the smell of oak put into flavor. Or if it leans heavy into that tannic bitterness, I'm just not a big fan of that specific note. And if I start to get that in a bourbon, that tends to downgrade it for me. I guess I'm just a run of the mill guy. Like a lot of people really like that. I personally don't. I want to stick to more of the fruity, sweet flavor, which is what most people really do enjoy about bourbon. Sometimes they'll get that nutty characteristic, like you'll get out of a Knob Creek type product. But for me, that's just not my jam. I like the graham cracker notes. I like the corn notes. I like the sweet, like molasses, the fruit notes. Sorry, I like the sweet molasses, brown sugar, caramel, honey notes. I like the honeysuckle, the floral, the honeysuckle, apple and cherry blossom. I like cherry notes. I like the apple notes. This last one's very similar. That is not really leaping out of the glass very much. I get just a hint of cherry in there and a little bit of honey on the back end. That's switching into that caramel graham cracker. Fairly simple, forward flavor profile. There was a nice, sweet, simple, like a graham cracker up front. Then it moved into like a very light honey sweetness. A little bit of oak picks up in there. The oak is very, very nice. It's not very bitter. Um, the proof kind of picks up. You get a little bit of that black pepper on the back end of it. I would say out of all the flavor profiles, this one is one of the more simplistic flavor profiles. This is where it would be nice to be able to mix stuff, because like if I could take the beginning of this and mix it with the finish on this and the mid palate of this and this, man, you'd have one heck of a bourbon. Didn't really jump out of the glass that much. Okay, so boy, I'm gonna put this one here. Okay, and I'll rearrange it. So this is number 2. So number 1 are these two. Number 2, number 3, and then tied is number 4 for that. So we're gonna swish the water here. I'll turn away from the mic for a second so it's not so loud and disgusting. Okay. Now we're gonna go from right to left and see what we think here. We'll go back to this one. And the other thing is, keep in mind that the lowest proof up here is 88, and it goes from 88 to 100, and then from there, 103 and above. So a lot of really high proof stuff. For that, none of these are kicking me in the face as far as proof is going. The proof is really not beating me up much at all. And still the glasses. Not a lot's coming out of there. A little bit of cherry, a little bit of graham cracker. Very nice, very simple. Nothing for a beat or two. Sweet, brown sugar, right into a nice dark fruit cherry. A little bit lighter on the sweet, heavier on the fruit flavor without the sweetness. Then just a touch of oak on the end. I think this one, we'll put this in like number 3 spot. Okay, this one we had tied for last. Oh my gosh, that is just an absolute caramel deliciousness. I mean, this smells like you're making Christmas caramel, and you're the chef cooking it up right there. You're the confectioner just making, oh, so good. And now it's moving into a honey apple. Oh, the nose on that is just crushing it. Sweet forward, graham cracker. It has that tannin though. A little bit of tannic bitterness kind of came back in. I'm gonna move this one up. I like that. We're gonna put that number 3. I'm gonna drop this one down here. Tie it with number 4. I think if this kind of holds true, this guy will drop down to be by itself. Maybe that smelled exactly. I mean, picture perfect caramel apple covered with nuts. It's Halloween. Life's good. Yeah, that's exactly what is coming out of this glass. It is so good. You get that sour note of the apple, like a Granny Smith apple covered with Oh my gosh, so good on the palate. Palate just mirrors all of that. That's now a standout number 1. We'll see what happens when we get back down there. Here we go. What previously was in last place? Oh no. We're gonna have a problem now. This smells like powdered sugar, milk caramel, a little bit of a milk chocolate on the back end, like a chocolate covered pretzel, and a ripe Honeycrisp apple. It was more of a chocolate, caramel, apple, a little bit. So far, I'm going to put this one, I don't know where to put this one. I'm going to tie it with that one. No, I'm not. I'm going to move this down and bring this up. So, everything about that was delicious right up until the very end where it gets that bitter tannicness to it. It was all sweet, dense, heavy flavors. And then that tannin, excuse me, just, it's that bitterness. I don't like bitterness in my whiskey. Okay, so I got these two tied right now, so we'll see where this goes. Oh, man, they're just getting better and better in the nose. They're just rich, dense, sweet. Caramel, all of these share this very dense caramel note. So much so that like I don't really get, it's like an Elmer T. Lee. I don't get much other nosing characteristic out of it. So good though. That was very sweet, dense, rich, creamy mouthfeel. It had a little bit of a cherry cough syrup note in there for a little bit, but in a good way. Because it had a lot more sweet to it than anything. But then you get a dark fruit cherry. It was very viscous, very clingy on the tongue. I'm gonna keep that there, and then I'm gonna move. No, I'm gonna move this one up. That's gonna stay down, I think. That one's livelier. So this is denser, richer, creamier. This is livelier, hard candy sweet. Oh man, this is difficult. Yeah. Now this is the first one that's not super sweet on the nose. It is sweet, but it like these were all like sugary, caramely. This one is fruit cherry and honey. Maybe a little bit of brown sugar in there. Like it smells sweet, but it's the sweet note is not the dominant characteristic. Or the sugar is not the dominant. Like the sweet is dominant, but not the sugar part of it. It's like a fruit sweetness. On the taste, hmm. Again, it hits with that tannic bite though. So these two have the most tannic bite to them. I think. So here's what I'm thinking in my mind. I have these are sweeter, lighter on the palate. These two are denser, creamier palate, more rich, viscous flavor, dense flavor, but they both have that tannic finish to them. These ones are not as dense, but they have none of that tannic bitterness to them. So, man, I don't really know where to put them. We'll put that number one, this number two, 3, 4, 5, and then 6. That's how we're ranking them. All right. So number one is A, which is the Wyoming whiskey small batch. Let's see, how do we want to rank these, or how do we want to put these? I'm going to put them in order across the back of what they are. So number one is Wyoming whiskey small batch. Number two is E. So E, A, B, C, D, E is my liquor shed store pick. Number 3 is F, which is the liquor shed Garden Valley Bourbon Club pick. Number 4 is D. D is the T&C store pick. Number 5 is B, which is the double cask. And number 6 then is C, Wyoming whiskey 10th anniversary. So I ranked last, the most expensive, by triple, quadruple the price, 10 years old whiskey. So there's my lineup. I don't really have much more to say with that, other than that is amazing that the regular small batch won out. It just hits all the right notes and has none of the negative notes that I like. Now you can see my number 2 and 3, store picks. They had that tannic note in there, so a little bit more barrel heavy impact on them. I'm kind of surprised if you watched my review of this 10-year. I don't remember if I said it or not, but the first time I tasted the 10-year, I got a little bit more that tannic impact. I wasn't super thrilled about it. I don't remember if I got that or not during my actual review of it or not, but something to check out. But there you go. Wyoming whiskey. Now, I have not gone out because most of the time and bought more of their products because oftentimes they're very expensive, especially locally here. Like they have a single barrel product I'm really curious to try, but I want to say it's like $72 for the cheapest place here in town. Their Outrider, which is a bourbon rye kind of a thing, that is I want to say like $65. Um, it's kind of a, is it a burr rye? I think it might be a burr rye because originally, as the story goes, the owners of the distillery wanted a rye, and the master distiller said, "Hey, I don't do rye. I make bourbon." Made the product, barreled it. They thought it was rye, but the guy had actually made a high rye bourbon instead of rye, and so they came out with that. But it went over really well. But I've never tried that. Then they got the National Parks editions that they've released. Those are in like the mid 70s, maybe $80 range. And so I haven't really coughed up very much money for stuff other than this one that my wife picked up, especially because I can get these store picks for $50 down in Casper. I'm not going to be too disappointed about that at all. And their standalone small batch is pretty good for under $40. So there you go. There's, they make good whiskey at Wyoming Whiskey. If you have it around you, definitely check. Yeah, definitely check it out if you haven't already. I think it's worth a look. They make really nice products. And drop down in the comments down below what you thought of this lineup. These are all the bottles that I currently owned. And yeah, let me know what your experience with Wyoming whiskey is, what your thoughts are. Anything else you can comment. Hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already. My numbers kind of bounce around a little here and there. I know I don't get a ton of traffic, but the traffic that I do get, I greatly appreciate. Hopefully you're getting some good content here that you appreciate. And if you are, go ahead and share this out to all of your friends who you think might appreciate it, because I don't share it out at all. I don't push any of my media. I don't do anything. So go ahead and do that. As always, thanks for watching. You guys have yourselves a great day. We'll catch you in the next video. And I think the next video I'm going to do 4 roses, and I think I'm going to shoot that next. So catch you then.